Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Next Level Teaching. I'm your host, Jeremy Anderson, here with my super dope co-host, Miss Tori Rodriguez, aka T-Rod.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome back.
Yeah. Today gonna be good.
I'm so excited, Jeremy, because this is actually our first time that we have a guest on. And I'm super excited because our guest is someone that we both know and love, an amazing educator. Mr. Ryan Manning in the house.
Oh, what's up, Mr. Manning in the building.
No doubt. Y'all can tell his students love him, right?
Yep.
Mama, I made it.
Mama
I
made
made it.
Yeah, so full disclosure, right? So 2 years ago, I was privileged. I don't necessarily go for talent. People are definitely talented. My first thing when I'm looking for a new person to join our team and to move forward is I'm on character.
Yeah.
And me and my wife had a conversation. We knew that we wanted to expand. And I heard this quote that said something like, if you want to get there fast, go alone. But if you want to get there, what does it? Help me out. If you want to get there fast, go alone. But if you want to get there and stay there, you go. Y'all ain't heard that quote?
No.
Nah,
You got to
man.
go
You
with
lost
other
me.
people?
I had cable growing up, but go ahead.
All right. Well, basically, the premise of the quote is like you need people
Yeah.
to get further. That's it. If you want to go the distance,
Yeah.
if you want to get there fast, go alone. But if you want to go the full distance, you got to go with other people.
That's
There
so
we go.
true.
There we
There we
go.
go.
I
That's
cleaned
so
it up,
true.
right?
My
Hey,
bad.
we real out here,
Yeah.
right? But when I saw that and I talked to my wife, one person that came to mind is I knew we needed somebody that had a heart for kids. We knew someone that was deep in education and also with high character. And so we brought Ryan Manning on to the team about 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. Appreciate it.
Complete game changer for our company and our family. And so we only knew it was right. Our first guest, you know what I'm saying, next level, like teacher of the year, like Ryan, we knew he would be great.
go.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
so we've got a series of questions. So before we even get into
Yep.
that,
Yeah.
we need a rating, but not just any rating, right? We need you to rate us, right? So whether you're on Spotify or Google Play or iTunes, we need y'all to show us some love.
Yeah.
We need you to give us a rating. What kind of rating we want?
Well, if you guys are really loving what you're hearing, and we hope
Please.
that this is going to be a blessing to you, we would love a 5-star rating. But more than anything, we would love some reviews, some
Please.
responses back from what you guys are loving from the conversations that we're having here. We're just some real people that are just making friends and learning a little bit more about teachers and education and people and kids.
Yeah.
And
We want to add value to you.
Exactly. And so that's what the Next Level Teaching Podcast is. Remember, guys, we want you to laugh, learn, and live. So, Jeremy, tell them a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so in every podcast, you're going to have some moments when you're going to laugh because we're goofy and we're funny, right? So laughter is good for the soul. We want you to laugh. Sometimes teaching and working in education, it can be so stressful. We want this to be a podcast where you can have fun and laugh, but we also want you to learn something, right? We all have different areas in our life where we can grow and learn. So we want you to learn something new with each podcast. And also, we want you to live your best life. So we're going to have some real questions. We got real people on.
Yeah.
You
Yes,
know what I'm
sir.
saying? We're all still figuring this thing out.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about Next Level Teaching, it's not saying I'm the best teacher in the world. Next Level is like the constant pursuit to be everything you've been called
Absolutely.
to be. And so since you all decided to be educators, you decided to answer the call. This is more than just a career. You know what I'm saying? We believe that this podcast is going to add value
Most
and help you go to
definitely.
that next level. So get ready to laugh, get ready to learn something new, and get ready to help us connect with you so you can live your best life.
Yeah. So I want to let our listeners know a little bit more about Ryan Manning
Yes.
Uh-oh.
before we really dive in, because I know, Jeremy, you and I know him really well.
Mm-hmm.
I've known him for 7 years now.
Nice.
And so Ryan is a teacher. He's been working for 16 years. 14 of those years were in a middle school classroom, which is where I was blessed enough to be able to meet him. He was my science teacher on my team, my first year teaching, and we spent our first 3 years together. He is currently, as Jeremy was talking about, the curriculum director for the Jeremy Anderson Group. And so I know that Ryan has, I guess you could say, stepped out of the classroom, quote unquote, but he
We
has
stole him.
spent, yes, but he
Stepping
spent
out.
14 of those years in the classroom and has so much knowledge. And to me personally, the teacher that I saw, especially as a first year teacher, Ryan, you were always someone that wanted to know more about students. And I'll just kind of hop in with saying, I remember on Mondays, right?
Oh,
You
Monday
would
intro.
Yes, you would throw a ball around the classroom, right? So tell us a little bit about that, because I think that was so important to me as a first year teacher, to see you making connections with your students.
Monday intro. It started because during my first year, we just had an active group of students. And what I realized towards the beginning of the week, especially on Mondays, when I heard their conversations, they weren't, just acting up. They were just talking about their weekends. Yeah. So I said, you know what? Let me actually give them that outlet. So I went to the Last Tree, aka the Dollar Tree. For those of you who don't know about it, but I went to the Last Trees and I got a little ball. And my goal was, I said I would sit around in the classroom and make that actually a part of my class. So I put a timer up on the board. I said 5 minutes, and I said I would just throw them the ball. And the rule was, you only, if you have the ball, that's the only person that can be speaking. Yep. And we would just respect everybody. We wouldn't laugh. We wouldn't try to play them. But what happened is I forgot that ball at home. So I just balled up a bunch of paper and I just wrapped a bunch of tape around it, and I used it. And the very next week, they were asking, like, Mr. Manning, I pulled out the Nerf ball. They're like, we don't want that. We want the tape ball. We want that tape ball. And I used that same exact tape ball for all 14 years in my classroom. Wow. So it was just dope for me to have a student. And I'm like, I did Monday intro with both of your siblings, both of your older siblings, and just to have 3, siblings in a row that I taught. Wow. And we just shared a highlight about our weekend, no more than 5 minutes. And then I'll tell a little bit about my weekend. I could be doing the lamest, most boring thing, but just to say that Mr. Manning went to a mall, or Mr. Manning, whatever it was,
you're human.
Whatever it was, they would just be so engaged. But what I would do as an educator, I would listen, especially to some of those students I felt I wasn't connecting with, and maybe they got a new puppy, or maybe they played sports, and I would just take a mental note. And when I saw them later that day or throughout the week, I'm like, so how's Pepper? How's your dog? That's good. How's the puppy? Or asking them about their boxing match or whatever it was. So it was just a way for us to connect and build rapport.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. And so I can imagine you had some Lysol, right? That's one ball.
Oh, man. Lysol, antibacteria.
With Corona these days, that ain't happening.
Right. Call me a germaphobe, but I can imagine. But that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like and that's authentic, it's real, and now it gives you a way into their world. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because we've recently learned a lot just about really listening and being in tune with your students. And so when you talk about tossing the ball around, that's one thing when I do professional development in schools is I tell them, I'm like, pass the ruler, pass the eraser, like pass something around and try to get some questions. Either A, like you do, what is something significant that happened, or what are you looking forward to? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now when the student says, man, I'm looking forward to this weekend because my dad has this weekend.
Yeah.
Now we know they come from a broken home.
And then they get it all out their system. So if I dedicate 5 minutes towards just giving them that outlet, I had them for the rest of the period, rather than them trying to chop it up during the whole class period.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So good. Yeah, because you got some chatty Cathys out there.
Oh, man.
They're like, when you got the microphone.
Yeah.
Tell us what's on your mind.
Toss it underhand. That's another thing. They had to toss it underhand.
Yeah.
Not trying to give anybody a concussion or anything.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, man. So tell us, like, one thing I knew you were down to earth. I knew you were a man of your word. I knew you were high integrity. I knew you were great character, great family. You're someone I would trust around my family. Yep. Somebody I could trust with a company card, like on that level. But I also knew you had a passion for it.
Okay.
Because, here at Next Level Teaching, we don't just think that teachers, this is like a career. Like, this is the calling.
Yeah. You
got to be called to this work. And so it comes from a pure place for you. And so we know, though, with every classroom, there are knuckleheads like me, just like I'm sure you had your challenges when you were young. Can you tell us about, like, that one kid where you was like, you got that breakthrough, or you weren't quite sure how things were going to work out, or that one kid that maybe had you say, you know what, like, maybe I'm not cut out for this? Like, let's talk about that.
Oh, the one that made me question myself. I had I had one student. I taught 8th grade. Mm-hmm. This joker was 17. And on the real, I'm like, when I was 17,
I was. Math. Is that 3 grades behind? It's a lot.
But when I was 17, like, I was starting college. This joker was in 8th grade, and he had a DUI. You know,
Wow.
a DUI before coming to me. He also served time in his country prior to coming here. So he had to be in school. And the reality was he wasn't as challenged as well as he thought. He obviously was too mature for the guidelines that we had in a middle school, because I'm like, he almost was a grown man.
Yeah.
And I'll admit I'm not the tallest person, you know. So when I'm seeing somebody
Vertically
that's, you know, I'm almost lightweight looking up to, who had some weight to him and everything, and he would just try me. And I remember one time specifically, he was walking by my classroom.
You didn't trip him.
And I didn't trip him. I didn't trip him that time. No, I'm playing. I didn't trip him at all. But he was walking by the classroom, but he really just wanted to come in to see somebody. And I was trying to make sure we didn't have any issues. And he said, "Oh, I'm just trying to throw something in your trash can." I said, "No, don't come in the classroom at this time. I have you at this class period." And it's like he still kind of walked in and kind of like reached around me, you know, kind of gave me that look and dropped it in the trash can, like now what, you know? And I had to take a deep breath before I could respond. I remember I had a very observant coworker that probably kept me employed at that moment, because she said, "Manning, take a walk. Manning, take a walk." And I just walked away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you know,
That was
hey,
wise.
he tried my life.
You spent all your degrees, everything out
man.
the window.
Oh, man.
Yeah, wow. So you took a walk
I did.
and things kind of simmered down.
It did.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times that's good, because a lot of times as educators, like, we take that stuff personal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when we have kids. We thinking like, my own kids don't treat me like
In
this.
front of other students. So,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Trying to keep that authority and
Yeah,
everything.
that's rough.
Most
Wow.
definitely.
Wow.
So I think as teachers, we have those very trying moments.
Yeah.
But what got you into education? Because we know a lot of people don't just wake up one day and they're like, "I'm going to be a teacher.
Exactly.
I'm going to deal with knuckleheads like that sometimes."
Oh, man.
So what got you into education?
What got me into the classroom, my wife, then girlfriend, you know, I kind of messed up a little bit in school. You know, sometimes they say that they said some of the worst students make some of the best teachers, you know, but I just kind of messed up in school a little bit. And during that time frame, this was in undergrad, my wife, she stayed focused, she graduated, and she went on to become a teacher. But even while we dated, my undergrad's in biology, and she would just, she was an elementary education major, and sometimes I'm not go front. I would give her a hard time. I'm like, "How hard are your classes?" You know, I'm like, "You're teaching elementary kids, like, you know, ABC 1, 2, 3. You know, here's your diploma."
Wow.
You know, that was wrong. That was wrong. But I did.
That was risky.
It was. But when she started actually teaching, and like I said, she finished and started working. She moved to from Alabama, where we attended school, to Atlanta, and she was going through that first year, and I was still in Alabama getting myself together, finishing up my classes. We would just talk, and she would just vent. You know, she's a first-year teacher and share different things, and I had some experience from my church working with young people, so I started to give her suggestions like, "Why don't you try this? Why don't you try that?" And eventually I'm like, man, like, I almost wish, I'm like, I actually had to eat my words that time and said, you know, she went to school for education. I said, if I had to do it all over, I told her that I would probably do education. And she said, "You know what? You could still do it." And that's when she told me about doing the provisional. And I went and took the test so I could get the provisional certification. But before I even accepted a position, I said, let me just be a substitute teacher just to fill out the grade level and everything and see if I even want to do this. And I loved it.
Wow.
I loved it. And
You
I
saw
was
the
hooked.
twinkle in his eye?
Yeah.
He didn't say it was cool.
Yeah.
He said, "I loved it."
Yeah.
And here's the deep thing about love, y'all. I need you to get something here. I love my wife, but it ain't always pretty, right? Like, it's times she get on my nerves, it's times I get on her nerves, it's times we might get frustrated, but it's all love. It's just, especially during this quarantine season,
No doubt.
right? But the reality is, it's like there are some challenges that come with it, but it's the love factor.
Most
And I
definitely.
saw that. I saw that thing in his eye where he's just like, I love that. And I think that's beautiful. So let's talk about something. Let's take a break, right? This is going to be a segment that y'all will hear from time to time in the show.
All right.
Let's take a break. We want to take on, you told us about that student that almost like made you like lose it.
Yeah.
But like, give us your take on that moment, where that breaking moment that you almost had, where you was like, you know what, I can't do it. Sometimes it's because of a student. Sometimes it's because of administration. Have you had a moment like that?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Do you feel comfortable sharing it?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
share it. Yeah.
Because it's going to go on YouTube.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I hope he's watching. But when it comes down to it, I won't say it's a student that drove me to that point. It was definitely staff, administration. The reality is the county where I taught, at the school, I was the only African-American male content teacher in the building. You know, I taught in a county that was, I think it was 2.5 or 2.6% African-American males, you know, so it was just a small percentage of a small representation. And sometimes I feel like I didn't connect as much with some of the administration or some of the things that I would do, because I taught at a Title I school that was predominantly Hispanic and African American. So it's like I just had a connection with those students, and I may do something that may have been a little bit unorthodox from, you know, from an administrator, but it was like I was really connecting with the students, or there was something that I would do that they just wouldn't connect with, and it just led to I did a poem one day, which I think broke the was the tipping point, and the whole concept of the poem was the students were just frustrated preparing for this test, this criterion reference competency test for that year. And they were always going over these test-taking strategies, and the students started to get stressed out. And the school wanted to do a pep rally, you know, just to hype them up before the test. And however, I was going to do a poem, but the poem that I did, I had a whole concept behind it. You know, it's poetry, spoken word. So the whole concept was, I said, hey, when on the way here, I found a letter from a student, I'm sorry. So I just want to read it to you all so that no one knew what I was saying. So they thought it was something that a student wrote down, and I turned into a whole poem. Like, if I hear one more thing about the CRCT, about passing my classes with a 70D, these teachers have anything better to do besides picking on me, I'd rather be home playing my PSP. You know, so I did a whole poem where the student was venting, but then it had a turning point in the poem. So what can I do to finally get up out of here? Maybe I could turn off my TV and PSP, you know, so I could sit down and focus for the CRCT. And and everybody loved it. They erupted. But the principal, he actually asked for a copy, I thought, because he liked it, but he went and highlighted anything that was viewed as being negative, you know, and took it out of context. And that was something that I just felt like I was that put me on his radar, and he just gave me a hard time. And I remember at the end of the year, I typed up a letter of resignation. I had another job lined up. You know, my background's, my undergrad was biology. I was going to be a pharmaceutical rep. They were going to start me about $30,000 more than I was currently making.
You know what I'm saying?
I had a company car. Everything was lined up. And I turned in my letter of resignation, but I had one student that year that I really took under my wing. Like, I had met him. I won't do this now, but I actually brought him to my house with some other men so he could have that positive influence. You know, his parents were going through a divorce, so I related to him. And he just said something to me that made me go back and get my letter of resignation back from the principal and decide that I'm going to stay in this because this is what it's about.
Wow. That's deep.
And from someone that worked with you at that time, I will say it's evident to me that those students are your heart. And isn't it so sad sometimes that unfortunately all of the things that we have to do as teachers can affect sometimes how we feel like we can do our job and do what's best for kids. Because that's what it's ultimately about when we break it down. But from someone who watched you day in and day out, I think the thing that a lot of us as educators feel like we want to do is make a difference in kids' lives.
Most definitely.
And you did.
And and almost got to a point where you allow some of the other unfortunate drama and all those other things. Like, we don't have to talk much more about him. But it's clear that was brilliant. Like, what a creative way to kick off this pep rally, to get the kids excited. They obviously have a connection with you, right? But then you do that, and then there's actually something negative to say about it when everyone else loved it. You know, and that can be challenging. But you got out of it. You was like, you know what? I'm not going to stay here because I see I'm making an impact. And that's what next level teaching is all about. Adversity comes. Hard times come.
Yeah.
Frustrating things come. Somebody's going to say something that's going to frustrate you and irritate you and really tick you off. But you got to ask yourself, am I going to let you push me out of my purpose?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you have to be so focused, what you did, that says, you know what? I typed it up, but let me get that back. Let me get that back because I see what I'm doing here is bigger than me.
Most definitely.
It's bigger than you because
Yeah.
you're a hater.
Yeah.
It's about these kids.
Yeah.
That's rich, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
But if I can throw in this, when that principal ended up leaving, something tragic happened in his family. He gave an announcement on the television, and he got like emotional, like teary-eyed. And after that, within about 5 minutes, he came upstairs, and he said something like, he shook my hand, and he said something along the lines of, keep doing what you're doing, and something else like kind of affirming. And I was like, okay, that was a little.
Something that's going to frustrate you and irritate you and really tick you off, but you got to ask yourself, am I going to let you push me out of my purpose?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you have to be so focused, what you did, that says, you know what? I typed it up, but let me get that back. Let me get that back because I see what I'm doing here is bigger than me.
Most definitely.
It's bigger than you because
Yeah.
you're a hater.
Yeah.
It's about these kids.
Yeah.
That's rich, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
But if I can throw in this, when that principal ended up leaving, something tragic happened in his family. He gave an announcement on the television, and he got like emotional, like teary-eyed. And after that, within about 5 minutes, he came upstairs, and he said something like, he shook my hand, and he said something along the lines of, keep doing what you're doing, and something else like kind of affirming. And I was like, okay, that was a little bit weird. And I made it a point that day to intentionally ask every teacher on the grade level, did Mr. So-and-so come by your class?
Right.
And they're like, no. They're like, no. So I'm like, wow. So he took the time to come up specifically. So
good.
something clicked. Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Wow. That's
so
awesome.
good.
That's awesome.
So you talked a little bit about that student that made you want to take that, or actually take that resignation letter back. And one of the other things about our Let's Take a Break is a student that you're able to have a breakthrough with. And it seems like that student had a bit of a breakthrough with you.
Most definitely. Yeah.
But have you, and I'm sure you have because I've seen it, but tell us about one of your favorite breakthrough moments where you've been able to break through with a student.
And let me and before you share it, let me tell you why that's important, why we wanted to add that segment. It's because a lot of teachers feel like what they're dealing with now, they don't really see the future.
Yeah.
They don't know where their kids are going to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And I often say that we've got to be able to have like a delayed gratification and know that the seeds we plant, the jokes that we tell, though they might give us a hard time and they might not tell us, but there's a connection being made. So as you share this, just know there's a teacher listening that needs to know, okay, there's hope for me. So right now I feel like I'm not really getting nowhere, you know what I'm saying? But I might look up one day and come across these kids and they're in a different place in life right now.
Wow. That's a good question. I have a couple students that I thought about, but one that really stood out. I had a student that he was a couple grades behind. You know, he was kind of a bigger kid. You know, we're here located in Atlanta, Georgia. He came from New York. You know, I love my New York people, but he had that New York swag to him. And the reality was he was a part of a gang. You know, he was one of the almost like the leaders, you know, and he would come to the class and he would just come and sometimes just beat on the desk and whatever, like when I'm trying to teach. And one day I just stopped and I just put on an instrumental. I said, go ahead. Like, you want to keep rapping? This is your time. Like, this is your time.
In front of kids?
And I stopped my lesson. I went to my computer because I love hip hop. And I had instrumentals, so I'm like, okay, you want to be in the back rapping? Okay, boom. I stopped class. I said, this is your time. You want to be a star? And I put on the instrumental, and it was silent. And then I'm like, you don't got nothing to say? Okay. Then I dropped 16. And everybody was like, oh, Mr. Manning, Mr. Manning. And, you know, that actually triggered something between the two of us.
Yeah.
I started something with the young man. I called it UPS, was Urban Poetry Society, something like that. And they started coming in the morning, and I'll play instrumentals, and I was teaching them how to write lyrics that could be potent and effective without having to use profanity. I didn't trip
Beautiful.
like I told them, like I didn't want them using profanity.
Right.
Sometimes if they freestyle, but this was before school. But I'll teach them how to write and how your words could be even more powerful.
Yeah.
And he was just a student I connected with, and I did see him a couple years later. He was actually good friends with the administrator's son, and she brought him back, and he's like, I went to night school. He's like, I went to night school, Mr. Manning, and he was like, I'm in my proper grade right now.
Wow.
He was like, Mr. Manning, I'm not in the gang no more. I don't curse no more. And like I was hearing all of these things. I'm like, so hold on, you're in your proper grade, and he's out there. And there was two teachers, me and the language arts teacher, the ELA teacher, and she had tears coming down her face.
I bet.
And I'm just like,
Not
yo,
many
like
tears.
when the school year ended, I'm not gonna say I washed my hands of him. I felt like I connected. I planted that seed.
You did your job.
But I taught 8th grade, and most of my students, they obviously go to high school. I don't get to see them again. So when he came back, and it was like I got it confirmed from the administrator, like, yo, he went back to night school. He's in his proper grade, and he's saying, I don't curse no more. I don't do this. He don't bang with the gang no more. I'm like, mercy.
Yeah.
So that was one of my breakthroughs. I got a couple, but I don't want to hog the mic.
Right. But let's unpack that for
Yeah.
a bit, right?
Yeah.
So you saw something and you was like, oh, this is what you're interested in? Okay, so let's go ahead and go.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't feel comfortable? I'm going to go.
Yeah.
That was risky,
Yeah,
right?
you showed
What-
your vulnerability. in that.
Vulnerability. Because
Yeah.
was there a written rap or did you like
No,
freestyle?
and now I was about to say, trying to freestyle in front of a bunch of 8th graders.
savage.
Middle school, you got to be
Yeah, they would eat
more
you alive.
conscious of what you're going to say.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Because if you were just with some adults, you could probably get away with some
Yeah.
stuff just to
Yeah.
make it rhyme, but you got to be politically correct.
Hey, I
with
was a
them.
little talented back in the day. I'm just
There you
saying.
go,
Back
there
in
you
the
go.
day.
And I think not only did you show vulnerability and show him it was okay for him to be vulnerable in that, but you challenged him. This is what you're interested in.
Show me.
Like let's do this. I want to be a part of what you're interested in, and I want you to see that I'm interested in it too, and we're not that different.
Connection.
Yeah.
Oh, and because he has such a dominant personality, once I won him over, when I said the dynamics of the entire
Yeah. Come
on.
class
Come on.
changed.
That's it.
As a science teacher, sometimes I would lead a demonstration because that class was rowdy, but I would call on him. I said, okay, I want you to go in front, and I want you to demonstrate the lab, and I'm going to be in the back of the class kind of coaching and guiding you through. And if anybody even looked the wrong way, he'll give them a look,
Right,
because he
right.
want to pour that vinegar into the baking soda and watch it bubble up.
Right,
he
right,
wanted to
right,
do
right.
the lab because at the end of the day, he was just a kid. You know what I mean?
That's
So
so
the whole
good.
dynamics of my class changed.
Yeah, that's so
because he had
good.
a strong personality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so again, connection.
Most
You
definitely.
connected with him on the music, on the hip hop,
Mm-hmm.
and now you guys, he's like, man, he got a few years on me. He's experienced some things. He might not be from New York like me, but we have a connection. And so I think that's interesting because when you talk about working with students in the classroom,
Mm-hmm.
it's important that you have that type of connection and to look up later and see how he's advocating
Yeah.
for you and
Yeah.
being a leader. That's powerful.
Well, and that's something that you talk about in your book, Jeremy. In the Next Level Teaching book, you have a whole chapter that's called Creating Allies Within the Classroom. And I think that that's so important and so accurate. And sometimes those loud, dominant personalities that we may tend to have a power struggle with, which is something you talked about, which you were that student, correct? Once we win them over and show them that we are for them and not against them, and that once we do make that connection with them, they then become that student in our classroom that is the one that is able to get the whole class in on it. And I think that that's so important because I think sometimes as teachers, we don't realize the power that students have amongst
Right.
each other, and there are times where we just need to step back and let them teach each other and let
good.
them instead of me
self-govern.
instead of me being the one saying y'all stop talking. That's honestly one of my favorite memes is just the skeleton of the teacher, like it's a teacher but it's a skeleton,
Right,
and
right,
it's like
right.
I'll wait,
Right.
and letting kids be the ones that say, hey, y'all, she's trying to teach, but you're not letting her, because then they put that accountability on each other.
I'll never forget the first time I said it. I found myself, I was like, hey, y'all shut up. Y'all being disrespectful. And I was like, did I just say that? My friends was looking at me like, did I just say that? But
are
I
you?
found like,
Yeah.
because I had a connection. So whenever you talk about, or I hear any teacher talks about a student that has to repeat several grades, like I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to repeat the 7th. went to 8th grade, and then 8th grade told me it was not good enough for high school, and I went to 3 different schools for the 9th grade. So I know how it feels to bounce back. But when those teachers captured my heart, just like you connected with that one student and captured his, that's where that respect comes in. And now I'm like, y'all be quiet, y'all disrespectful.
And not only for classroom management, like when you're actually teaching, it's like they speak a little language amongst themselves. So I could explain something, I could break it down 2 or 3 times. So not only is it good for classroom management, I could explain something, then the student say, well, you know, it's like this, this, and this. Well, you do this, and then, oh, okay, I got it.
Right.
And I'm like, yo, I've been spending all
I said the
that.
same thing 3
But it's
times.
like,
Let
you
me
know,
cash app you
hey,
some for that.
Yeah, let's go.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's rich, man.
Yeah.
So I know it had to have been, saying challenging when I reached out to you and said, will you come with us on this journey? Because listen, again, I'm gonna get it right this time. If you want to get there fast, go alone. But if you want to go the distance, if you want to go far, if you want to make massive impact, you got to do it with others.
Yeah.
So what was it for you to say, I love the classroom, but I'm willing to leave to make a transition, still work in the educational space? Like, what were some of the things you had to process? Because I know you said, I need some time. Let me think about it. Let me pray about it. Let me talk to my wife. But what was that process mentally like for you?
I knew overall I would miss interacting with the students, but I was already reaching a point where I just felt like I had a bigger purpose. Like there were certain things happening around me. The only way I could describe it was it felt as if, somebody's planning a surprise birthday party for you and they give you them little corny smiles, or it's like they just know something is going on. It's like that's how I was feeling in just life and in the classroom. And one thing that happened, as much as my principal did not want me to leave, at the newer school that I worked at, she was like, you changed the environment of the school. I'm like, I've only been here for 2 years.
Wow.
How was that possible?
But that's who you are,
But
Ryan.
hey, I appreciate that. But what happened was one day she called me on the phone. I'm in the middle of instruction, and I'm just like, it's the principal on the phone, So she's was telling me about
Kids is like, ooh,
so she's telling me about some student, and I'm listening, and I ask a question. She's like, oh, no, you don't teach him. He's on another team. So I'm thinking, like, why are you telling me all these things about this student who's having all these issues? And she's like, well, his mom's here from another country, and we want him to meet you. So I'm thinking like later that day or on my lunch break or arrange something. While she's talking to me, I didn't know the AP was walking the family upstairs.
Wow.
And my door's opening up, and I was fortunate to have a collab teacher, and I'm in the middle of teaching. They're like, okay, I'm like, okay, hi, I'm Mr. Manning. I step into the hall to introduce myself to the family, and then the AP was like, no, come with us. I'm like, what? Oh, I'm in the middle of teaching. They're like, oh, your collab teacher has it, and had her finish teaching, and they pulled me out of the classroom, and I'm still thinking we're going to have a brief conversation. They walked me down to a conference room, and they said, okay, Mr. Manning, and I look up, and she just closed the door, and I'm just like, okay, so hi, I'm Mr. Manning, and I'm like, so I don't teach the student. I know he has some issues. So his mother's here from another country, his sister's here from another country, and he's here staying with somebody. I got pulled out of my classroom, and they had me sit down and start to speak to this family. And I'm thinking, like, we have counselors and school psychologists, and you pulled me out of my 8th grade physical science class to speak to a student who I don't teach.
Connection.
And that was one thing that let me know, like, okay, even my principal sees purpose in what I'm doing or something else, that there's something bigger going on
outside of the classroom.
That's why I said it was about time for me to, whatever it was, I knew something was on its way.
And I'm sure it was almost a double whammy because it's like, man, I'm finally at a school that values me.
Oh, man.
I'm finally at a school that appreciates me.
Yeah.
But now I've got an opportunity to make an even bigger impact.
Yeah.
And I think for us, that's what it's always been about. Like everything we do from curriculum to the next level parent book, next level teaching book, it's always about how can we make a bigger impact. And so I knew that our values align. I'm just grateful that he said yes, and he came on board with us. We got a ton more questions, but I want to just kind of talk about you guys share an awesome story together. Can you guys, I don't know who wants to share it, but like there was a dynamic when you guys first like met, the connection, like let's just talk about that. I think it's beautiful. I don't know who wants to share it, but.
Do you want to just kind of say your part? And
okay, this is my half, which is the truth.
Just a quick breakdown.
But we met, it was during a year where I was contemplating being in the classroom, and I had a wonderful opportunity that was going to pay me significant amount of money, close to $200,000 a year, and it was up on the table, and I was one of the top 3 finalists for this position. So I found out during the first week of school. So in my head, I was like really thinking I was going to go ahead and claim that was my breakthrough. So I wasn't trying to get to know anybody, you know. So there's a new teacher on your team, and she came in, but she just had this big, bright smile, right. You know, and we just kind of hit it off from there. Wow. I didn't get the job. I stayed in the classroom, but that was a great year. We had, Christmas decorating and everything. We had our song.
Your chemistry.
Oh, yeah. My chemistry. Yeah.
And my geometry.
Yeah. Yeah. For the holidays.
Y'all
yes.
did. I love it.
And I'll say as a first year teacher, you had a big impact on me just seeing how you treated the kids, because I realized that it was more about your relationship with the kids. You had so many students that would come to you to talk to you, because I think the students that we worked with at the time, I know that the students that we worked with at the time, a lot of them lived difficult home lives. Yeah. And you related with them, and you connected, and you felt them, you helped them feel seen and known and loved and heard. And that taught me a lot. But I will say, just from a woman of faith, one thing that Ryan and I were talking about when we first started this podcast, that he never even knew that the impact he had on me was, I honestly saw your Bible sitting in your classroom, and it's not that you were out about your faith or anything, but just because you had it there if you ever needed it. And during lunch you would pray, and you just always showed such joy, and you were always doing. You were always involved with something, the school dances, and so I could see who you were as a person. And to be honest, there were definitely times where you were open about the fact that you weren't going to be super open with your kids, because that was the year that you guys had Aubrey. Okay. Correct?
Yeah.
And so you went on paternity leave for a little bit, and the kids were like, "Where'd Mr. Manning go?" I'm like, "I don't know if I'm allowed to tell them this because you don't tell them anything sometimes." Right. But at the same time, you were able to keep that,
like a balance.
Yeah, that nice balance with them. Exactly. You showed them who you were, and you showed me who you were. But at the same time, you were able to keep your personal life personal. And I think that's an important balance to hold within our classroom, to let our kids in, to know that we're not robots. We're human beings.
But we still have boundaries.
Yeah. Yes. And so you just made some big impacts on me, on my personal faith, honestly, and just me as an educator. And so it's such an honor and a privilege to be back with you. And when you reached out about this podcast, I was like, why is Ryan Manning calling? What's going on? I haven't heard from him in a while. Yeah. And just, it's a blessing and an honor to be back in your presence again.
And that was your first year.
That was my first year teaching.
So if you gave any advice, I'm sure we have a ton of veterans that have been teaching for 20, 30 years, but also a lot that's in their first few years. Yeah. What advice would you give to a first-year teacher?
Because you gave me a lot.
Right. I know you could probably give a lot, but
I'll say be true to yourself. Be true to yourself in terms of, when you get there, there's going to be a culture of the school. There's certain guidelines. I'm not saying not to follow them, but know who you are, because when you feel comfortable and when you know your lane, it's like it's easy for you to do what you need to do, to communicate with your students, to work with your staff. Don't compromise. Don't try to be that cookie cutter teacher. Be yourself, because you want it to be authentic when you communicate with your students.
Yeah.
So put your own. So we're not telling you not to follow the rules, but like bump that. I do it different. Yeah. So be true to yourself, but also say, okay, these are the guidelines and the rules. Well, how can I still follow these? Yeah. But then put my own little sauce, my own little finesse on it.
Yeah.
That's good. That's
so good. I know you have a really cool story about one of your students and a special occasion that you got to spend with them after they had graduated. So tell us about that and the relationship that you had with him.
The crazy thing about this was there were two students, a male and female students, They weren't dating. They weren't even in the same class together.
Oh, wow.
I just taught them, and I do remember both of them individually. But to be 100% honest, I didn't feel like they were students that I super, like I had that super connection with. I show all my students respect. I didn't realize the impact that I made on them.
Yeah.
A long story short. But that was in 8th grade. So about 2 years ago, I got a message from a Facebook account I set up for just former students. And the young lady reached out to me, and she mentioned the other student and said, that they were dating and that they were engaged.
Oh, wow.
And that they wanted
Invitation?
me, not even just an invitation to their wedding, they're going to get married. They said they wanted me to be their wedding officiant. And I'm like, wait, hold up. Hold up now. So I'm like, I was your 8th grade teacher.
Yeah.
I wasn't your high school teacher. I didn't teach you in college. I'm thinking like, don't you have a pastor? I'm like, I'm not no pastor. I'm not a pastor, and they're like, no, they already did their research. I don't remember the name of the school, but they sent me the information. Like, you go here and don't worry, we're going to pay for it, So you go here and you take these online modules and classes, and in Georgia, you'll be considered the official wedding officiant.
Wow.
So they reached out. They said they'll pay for my tux. I'm like, well, I have my own tux, so don't worry about it. Ooh, but at the same time, I can't fit it no more, but that's another story. but I'm like, yo, I got my own tux and everything, so don't worry about it. But they wanted me, Mr. Manning, the 8th grade science teacher, as grown adults, to be their wedding officiant.
Connection.
So,
Connection.
Yeah.
That is so good.
That was crazy.
That is so good. Thank you for being with us. We're going to do rapid fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I want to just wrap this part up. That's connection, right?
Yeah.
This is what next level teaching is all about. Never in a million years would have Ryan have thought that he would have planted such deep seeds that 2 kids that were in 2 different classes would years later fall in love, start dating, and get ready to get married. And out of all the people, come on, I'm talking to you educators out here who might feel like they don't really see me, these kids don't appreciate me, or you feel like they do appreciate you, but you don't know the depths of it. Like, come on, y'all, we live in Atlanta. It's a lot of people in Atlanta. It's churches on every corner, right? But for them to say, out of all the people who made an influence, like nobody else in high school, nobody else in college, like no, your grandmama, nobody's pastor, for them to say that they wanted you to marry them goes and says a lot about you and about the work that you do, the work that you put in, your sacrifice, your humility, your love, your creativeness, your funniness, you know what I'm saying? It's your boy, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and they slid me a couple hundred on the low.
Oh, so they doing well in life.
Yeah.
They doing well in life, right?
So they got
so
the
you all are
education.
planting seeds. So don't let nobody make you feel like your principal, administrators, folks at the district, you might sometimes feel like they don't value me. You might sometimes feel like they don't appreciate me. You might not always feel that connection, but I believe he's got a card
I
here.
still got one of the bills.
Oh,
I couldn't even spend
Let
it
me
yet.
hold something.
This is the last 100 they
Let me
slid
hold something.
It's like emergency. I'm
You need
just
to
saying.
get that thing framed.
No, I'm going to spend it.
We're
but,
talking about connection. Right. We're talking about connection.
Yeah.
Right. So every day you have no clue what seeds you're planting and what connection you can make with the people.
Yeah.
We want you to connect with our listeners. We'll do this thing called rapid fire.
Okay.
You got the questions ready?
Yeah. All right. So
No judge zone.
yes,
Okay.
this
Maybe.
is just a fun round because that's me.
Okay.
You know me. All right. So
60 seconds.
60
All
seconds.
right.
Here we go. All right. What is your favorite movie?
Oh, my goodness. Gone in 60 seconds. I love cars.
Oh, well, very
nice.
perfect for right now. Favorite sports team?
I don't watch any sports whatsoever.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
none.
That's deep.
Team Manning. Team Manning. Let's go.
Yeah, I know,
Team
I
Manning.
know. All right. Favorite food?
Rice and peas. Oxtail.
Oh, that Caribbean.
Yes.
What is your favorite 90s jam?
Jodeci. Come and talk to me.
Oh.
Hey, I
Oh.
really wanna meet you. Can I talk to you? Y'all
Oh,
know.
yeah.
All right. One's got to go. Twitter or Instagram?
Twitter.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
One's got to go. Cake or ice cream?
Ice cream.
And one's got to go. Jeremy or Tori?
Oh! I got to go. Thank you for your time.
That was good. That was good. Man, Ryan,
We
thank
do.
you so much
We
for
do,
rocking
guys.
with us. Thank you
Yeah.
for what you do. Thank you for your sacrifice. And thank you for saying, you know what, I'm going to take my gifts and talents and go to that next level
Yes, sir.
and rock with us and be able to travel the country,
Yeah.
making this big impact, man. We appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yeah.
for having me on.
Absolutely.
Next level teaching.
Yep. Do me a favor before we leave, please, if you enjoyed this episode, we would love for you to go leave us a comment, tell us what you think, give us some suggestions, and we thank you in advance for that 5-star
Yeah.
review.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening, guys. We appreciate it, and we
Yep.
hope to have you guys back next time.
Peace.